Everybody happy?
Yes.
Okay. Rebecca, it's a pleasure to see you here in Berlin. It's quite a special film, not only because of the all-star cast, but also because of, the story that was very important to you. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, it's a story which I started thinking about in 2002, actually, and then wrote the novel. Starting in 2005, I really began the novel, and that took 2 years. And then I realized that the well was so deep that I wanted to keep going and make the film, and wrote the screenplay. And so it's been a long cycle of work, and I've spent a long time with Pippa, really.
Yeah, it's true. Well, it's very interesting how you worked with the two actresses that portray her, Blake Lively young and Robin Wright older. They didn't really meet to discuss the role, so they relied on you to understand her emotional journey. Is that important for you?
They did rely on me, but they watched each other a little bit, so they were able to kind of steal mannerisms from each other, and I was able to remind them of certain little things to do, in terms of their facial expressions and stuff. And I think that they do a remarkable job of somehow becoming the same person.
What's really remarkable about the character of Pippa is she's so rich and layered, and I think it's the right word for her, layered, because it feels like it's two people in one body. How much enjoyment was her, or difficulty was she for you to write?
It was hard. It was hard because I knew that I had to, in a way, present the younger and the older, that are both, they're both different, and yet they're the same. You have to believe that they're the same person, and that's so true of so many of us. I mean, we look back on our youth and we think, who was that person? I can't believe, what was I thinking? How did I do that or that or that? And I think that thing where we're looking at ourselves across the divide of time is something that fascinates me. And how do we develop as people? How do we, our moral sense, for example, or our taste, or all the things that make us who we are as individuals, is something that is always mutating and shifting, and yet there's some central kernel that really is our self, that's constant, and that's what interests me about the thing.
Yeah, she's kind of a Stepford wife / Russian dolls, a little bit broken on the inside, isn't she?
In a sense, I suppose, although I think she's seen, perhaps with Pippa, it's almost as though, she's a person that you could judge and almost dismiss when you first meet her, and think that, oh, well, she's not the most interesting person in the room, for example, in the party in the beginning, and you gradually realize that, in fact, she's far more interesting than most of the people there that seem, being intellectuals and so on, that they're more interesting than she is.
Is that what starts the idea for you, just like a situation that just triggers an idea for something you would like to write?
Sometimes it's a scene where I just see a scene in my head, or a confrontation. Very often, usually it's a character, it's somebody who interests me, has a tendency to do something, whatever it is, the tendency to, the idea of a woman that had changed a lot was what really interested me with Pippa, because I felt that it was so true of coming to the second part of your life, where you're a mature person, and you can then see that you have other selves, that you look back on yourself and you see other selves within yourself that are nonetheless, still you, but you feel alienated from them. And that's all very interesting to me.
Absolutely. Very interesting as well is having an actress of the caliber of Robin Wright Penn, who really understands all those layers of this character. I enjoyed so much how she understood her and played her a little bit like a robot, right?
Yeah, Robin has amazing, that performance is so profound and deep, and she understood really the detail of Pippa. She plays it with great subtlety and depth, and it's very hard because essentially she's playing a character that makes sense when you see her younger self. You have to add, it's in a way the audience needs to add the two people together in order to say, yes, and then you can come to love her. When you understand the mystery of this person, really needs both of these things to come together. And Robin did such a beautiful job of playing the mystery of her other self, even as she's playing this character in the present.
Yeah, that's quite exciting. I thought she was remarkable, and really, she was really great. Just like a great theater play or a great painting, when you've got an ensemble, it's very important for all of them to shine in a memorable way. How do you orchestrate that?
Well, you can't. you need to allow each person, however small the amount of time that they have, to feel, to play the part, to feel free and like they're free to do their best work, and that they, whatever happens, you'll catch them when they fall, that they can be they can go very far out and they're still safe. For example, Maria Bella was saying to me, that she rarely felt so safe. She just, and then she was able to do that wonderful work that she did, which is so, she goes very far emotionally. But she knew that she was going to be okay, that I wouldn't allow her to go too far, that we were going to, keep it within the range of what, make her do her best work.
Is a director like yourself aware of the fine line that you have to do in the sense of directing actors, but not too much in the sense of letting them express their own performance?
Well, I think one of the most important things about directing is knowing what not to say. Really, not speaking. Not speaking is as important as speaking. And in fact, my directors sort of tease me that so often I'll come up to them, look like I'm going to say something, and then turn around and not say it. And the reason is that if I don't have a simple, articulate way of saying something, if I don't really know how to say something and I don't exactly know what I want, then I would rather not pollute their minds with it. I'd rather just not say anything and see what happens next. Very often, if you just sort of see what they do next, they do what you really are thinking. It's better to keep silent most of the time.
No, absolutely. And sometimes just say something small that gives them an indication.
You have to find a way of saying something that's almost next to the thing you want to say. You can't be too. Definitely shouldn't be wordy when you're directing.
Well, talking about actors like Keanu Reeves and Blake Lively, how important is it to have watched their previous work for you to know that they will really work for the film that you've written?
Well, Blake, I had less to go on, of course. Keanu has a real body of work, and I did study it, and I watched it, and I thought, well, why is he like, what makes him do his best work, which is always the question you ask with every actor, and it's also a question you can only answer by being with them for a little while. But I mean, the kind of openness and tenderness that Keanu can have, and the sort of sweetness in him, and also the sense of him being a creature really that's not like anybody else, something a little otherworldly about him, I thought was perfect for that character, who really doesn't fit into any pocket of society particularly. And then I thought with Blake, the television that she'd done, although she's very competent and it wouldn't have necessarily convinced me, she'd done a small movie though, which she sent me, and she was very wonderful and transparent in it, and I thought, oh wow. And then I auditioned her very, very hard. I mean, because I didn't know her work very well, whereas with the other actors I knew I could just see their work.
How many years are we talking in terms of labor of love for projects like The Private Lives of Pippa Lee?
Well, with Private Lives of Pippa Lee, I'd say 4 years. Each one is different. The Ballad of Jack and Rose was much longer. It was about 10 years, but it was not only that. I mean, I was working over a longer period of time. But with Pippa, it was been 4 years, and by the time the whole cycle is done, it'll be 5 years probably. But I will have been working on other things in the next year.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Role, because she's got so much layers to her, Pippa Lee. How did you approach it? I mean, the body language was so important to that character.
Thankfully, Rebecca and I had about a year plus to unveil all of the details verbally. We didn't do physical rehearsal, and we didn't have other actors yet, so I wasn't able to play off of anyone. But we had, at the time, her manuscript. It had yet to be published, the book. So I had all of that detail. I had the Bible of Pippa to refer to constantly, and I had its mother, Rebecca Miller, to sit and talk with about anything and everything. It was literally like, call me at 4 o'clock in the morning, you have any, and boy, did I. It's like, I just woke up, I had this question, I had this epiphany, and she just could access everything I wanted to know. And I got to build a little home, a shelter, before we shot. which is never available to you really as an actor. I mean, yes, sometimes you get a couple of weeks rehearsal, and there was nothing like this. It was great.
Yeah, it's true. It's those roles come far and few because she's like a Russian doll a little bit. You know, you open it, there's another one. You open it, there's another one, etc. That layered of a character must be a joy on one hand and a little bit of a teeny obsession on the other hand because you get so much into her, right?
Well, and what relief to have Blake Lively playing me young, you know, because if it weren't for her, she wouldn't exist. The older Pippa wouldn't exist. If you hadn't seen the whys and the hows and the whens, she became who she is. It wouldn't be justified. I wouldn't have been allowed to be silent in my unraveling if I didn't have Blake playing me young. You know what I mean?
Of course.
So, God, it was so liberating to go, oh, great, you do all that work. I get to do this stuff. Yeah.
Does it increase the enthusiasm of seeing the finished product when you know that when you were playing her, you were so much ahead of your audience that you just want to see how it goes on screen? How did you, as a viewer, watch the film for the first time?
You know, with an open mind, which, you know, we're going to just do a little pat on the back because that's hard to do. And it wasn't difficult to be open watching this movie as a whole, because I truly felt like I was watching the book. You weren't missing anything. It was all there, even though, you know, the details in a book are just, they're endless. And I think she captured the essence of all of those details in this picture.
Is it a bit of a rare treat to be able to collaborate with your director so closely and so long?
It's a gift. Yeah, we don't get that. I mean, that's time and money. And for some reason in this society today, we never have enough time and we never have enough money you know, to actually relish in something that's going to benefit the final product. It's like, wait, you're actually missing the two elements that are going to give you the... And we've negated that in a weird way. So we really feel blessed, Rebecca and I, that we had that time to get to know each other also as actor, director, and as women.
Yeah, it's true. Well, it does tackle a lot of subject that, you know, do move me as a daughter. You know, it's so funny when you realize at some point in your life that, you know, you know less about your mother than you thought you did. And those complexities of really make that movie so endearing and approachable, don't you think?
Yeah, there's something very melancholic about it, right? When you discover who your mother is, how it's affected you, how it's influenced your behavior, how you mimic your mother, you know? It's very devastating, and it's very liberating also to be able to make that choice. And that is what happens with this character. She's making the choice to be something other than what was stamped. Yeah. Other
than the actress that she believed she was throughout the years. I thought that was extraordinary, like a concept, like you just play a role like Pippa does, and then she believes it, and she forgets, and then it catches up with her unconsciously.
Yeah, it's like power of suggestion.
Gosh, I really like that. You know, great films with great ensemble. You know, every single piece of the puzzle is important. I.e., every single actor, when you started shooting, was very important to the film. Is that a joy for you when you're surrounded by good actors in a good story? That, you know, it's just a perfect combination.
It's everything. It's everything. It's, you know, it's like going to a great restaurant and having a 5-course meal that every single meal is perfect. I feel like everyone, even though I didn't work with anybody but Alan and Keanu. I really didn't have scenes with any of the other, I wasn't with any of the girls. We were all playing an element of the private lives, right? And I thought, God, we didn't really get to connect. There wasn't that cognitive connection either. And it didn't matter. I really felt like we were all telling the same story.
Yeah, it's true. Well, how was it yesterday then when you all, most of you got together in the screen? Apparently Keanu was looking at the screen like that, like enjoying every single minute of the film.
I know, we did. It was like being in the living room going, we did it! We did it, it worked. We were all really happy and just pleased that people are responding to it.
No,
Because
absolutely.
it's layered, it's difficult. But I don't think it's difficult in the way where your heart says, I can't take the pain. You're laughing while you're crying. You're laughing at how frickin' painful it actually is, And that's life.
Yeah, it's true. It is a movie about life, I think, in many ways. A bit of an extraordinary one, but
Yeah.
when you become an actress, is it for films like that,
Oh,
or for quality like that?
yeah, definitely. I mean, it gives me something to do. If I don't have anything to do, then I'm not really sharing anything with you. And I do feel that's what we do in this craft. I mean, we're here to share. We're here to give a message or allow an emotion. Turn on the imagination of the viewer or something. And if we can't offer that, then I'm going to go be a cocktail waitress over here at the bar. I mean, why not? Because actually I could be doing something and making drinks.
That people enjoy.
Which, we might have to do. That's a secondary job.
Well, talking about that, who remains... bless you. Sorry. Talking about that, who remains a point of reference for you when it comes to acting? Because you're all actors in the family. Do you interact in the movies you do, or do you keep the shoot where the shoot is, and Sean and you can have a dinner and not talk about acting?
Yeah, not talk about acting. And also, we have very different process. So even if I had I wonder how I would achieve this, he would have some answer for me, and I'd just be like, shut up, it so doesn't work for me. Whatever you do so doesn't work. You take your thing, and what I do would never work for him. We're polar opposite in that way.
What's next?
I hope Rebecca writes something else. Could you actually call her and ask her to do the sequel? That'd be so great.
Exactly. What happens to Pippa after the last Private Life?
Hey, there are many movies to follow this one, I bet.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's good to see you. Cheers. I suffer from it when I go to America. It's crazy. All right?
Yes.
Nick, it's a pleasure to meet you here in Berlin, and it's a great film to come to Berlin for the first time with. I mean, first of all, tell us about your involvement with the, Private Lives of Pippa. It's kind of a great project to be associated with.
It is. It's such an honor to be able to work on a film like this. There are so many strong male roles in Hollywood. It's so rare to find a strong female role like this, and so many of them in the film. And to get to work with Rebecca Miller, who's just unbelievably talented, who wrote and directed this, and to work with Julianne Moore and Monica Bellucci and Maria Bello and Alan Arkin. I mean, it was such a dream come true. I can't believe that I was able to be a part of it. It was so thrilling to be able to portray a young Robin Wright Penn. And if I wasn't so tired, I would be squealing with my excitement.
Well, it's not an easy role as well, because you star as young Pippa with a range of, first of all, physicalities, which kind of convey her state of mind. So tell us a little bit about that first, how the physicality, changed the role in itself.
Yeah, well, Pippa ages from about 15 years old to about 25 in the film, and it goes from the 70s into the 80s. And it was important when she was younger to be a little more thin, have longer, straight hair like a young girl, not styled, no makeup.
Very ingenue.
Yeah, and as she got older, it was into the 80s, so the hair got a little crazier and the makeup got really dark and greasy. Something that looked like it had been slept in for a week. She just put on more eyeliner every night before she went out, because she was just living this life, just this repetitive life of just constantly going out, night bled into day, every day of her life. And, that was important to be reflected in crazy, nasty hair and the makeup. And then as she met Herb, she started to make herself a little prettier, a little more presentable, because she was segueing into this wife that she would then become for him. So it was important to get those things down, because I think it really helped to tell the story.
Absolutely, and it's the kind of role that is intertwined with someone else's role as well. Robin Wright as the older Pippa Lee. Did you meet her on the set? Did you discuss the role, or did you rely on Rebecca Miller to just convey you the running order of her story in a way?
It was a little bit of both. I did get to meet Robin. I did get to spend a little time around her beforehand. The only problem is we didn't have the luxury to really get to spend time together and to get to talk to one another. She lived in Los Angeles. I was in New York working on a TV show, so it was just like, I signed on to the project, and then right away I was working on it. So I did get to spend a little bit of time with her, and just being around her, there's just such a magical essence to her. I know it sounds really cheesy and like an actor thing to say, but it's true. And it was just, I felt like it was most important to capture that rather than try to get each little physicality down. So I really tried to embody her in a sense, just what I felt from her. And also Rebecca, I relied a lot on her, but I knew that Rebecca wouldn't over-direct us. So if she felt that I was on the right track, she just didn't come in. So I was trusting a lot of it, just trusting that it was gonna match up and be the same person. But it was interesting to see the film, and so many people think it is the same person, which is wonderful. And I was going into the press conference yesterday, and these people that were getting autographs were so upset with me because they thought I was Robin, and they were screaming, "Robin, why won't you sign this?" I said, "I'm not Robin." And then they started calling her or me bougie, and they were so upset. I was like, "But I'm not Robin." So I probably should have just signed her autographs as Robin. But
exactly, Robin Blake, Robin Blake.
Yeah.
Who's that new star? It wasn't the easiest of roles emotionally, was it?
No, it wasn't. But for me, it's so much more rewarding to get to play a character like that. It's easier in a sense because you really you get to play so many parts of a person, and it's nice to be able to show an audience such a complete person. So it is more rewarding and more exciting to be able to do that. And it's important for you to see her journey and understand why she makes these decisions she makes, because she could easily be judged for breaking up a marriage and being with an older man, but it's important to know the pain that she suffered before that, from her mother, and how much that really affected her, and how much she really loves her mother, and it really justifies the older Pippa. So emotionally it was a difficult role to take on, but it was also very rewarding and exciting.
Absolutely, it's the kind of role that you will remember, that's for sure. It's an all-star cast, although you've met only half of them. So when you meet the other half, is it fun?
Oh yeah, I didn't meet Keanu actually until this trip, and he's such a delight. He's so much fun to be around. He's just such a nice, humble man, and you forget what a mega movie star he is. I'm like, oh, Keanu Reeves, this is so cool. Like he's a big movie star, but you're sitting at dinner with him, and he's just this guy, Keanu. And then you walk outside and these people go psycho because he's such a worldwide superstar. And I think it's easy to forget that being around him, which is really, I think, a wonderful thing to say about a person, because he's just unbelievably humble. And I got to sit next to him in the film, and he's such a reactor. He was loving every moment of the movie, not just looking for his parts, and it was just so enjoyable. But I look forward to meeting Winona. She was so terrific in the film. And other than that, I've met pretty much everyone.
That's true. Well, you're the right person to ask about that Hollywood switch. I call it Hollywood switch because it's like, the success that comes in with the first episode of a great TV series. So how did that happen with Gossip Girl, in the sense of you waking up the following morning and everybody knows who you are?
It was really strange. The very first week after the show aired, We would have like a few girls come on set beforehand because people were fans of the books or fans of our producers, Josh and Stephanie, who did the OC. Maybe like 4 or 5 girls would come to our set, and then the first week after it aired, it was like 150 girls came and they were mobbing us, and we didn't have any security or anything to make sure we got from our trailer to our set without being taken away by little tiny young girls. But that was just, it was unbelievable to see what an immediate success it was, and so exciting, and so many people were trusting that our show would be a success. So we pre-shot magazine covers before the show had even aired, and they came out right when it aired, and it was just so weird to be in the grocery store and to see your face on a magazine. It just was unbelievably, it was just so surreal, but also really, really exciting.
Well, obviously, a lot of factors make Gossip Girl the success it is. The fashion being one of them, the story, etc. What is the thing that you enjoy the most? The designer suits or the great storyline?
Well, I think the most amazing thing about our show, the best character in our show, is New York City. I think that if you think of any movie that you love, even if it wasn't a great movie, you just get chills thinking of it because of New York City. Anyone that takes place there, it's magical. So I love getting to shoot in the city so much, and I think it's such an important element of our show. I think it wouldn't work if we were in LA shooting, in downtown LA for New York City. But also the designer clothes are pretty amazing.
Well, what is your candid take on what Hollywood is today, especially being, a young rising star or risen star?
I don't really necessarily have any sort of take on Hollywood. I mean, it's very much, I live in New York, it's very much a bubble that I'm living in. I think that it's really great to see. I think there was a spell where there were a lot of young stars that went under a lot of persecution, but it's also, paparazzi are following these people around, and there are a lot of people that have made mistakes in their life that if there was a camera in front of them every moment, that they didn't have the most perfect life either, like someone like Pippa, for example. But I think there's so many great young actors now that are emerging, that are just really talented and sophisticated. And, we have people like Kate Winslet to look up to, and Kate Blanchett, and it's really amazing to be able to be in places with these women, like going to the Golden Globes and getting to meet them, and meeting people you aspire to be like. So I don't know, I think that it has its ups and downs, but I don't really feel like I'm a part of it, but I feel honored to be able to make good movies like Pippa.
Thank you so much.
You.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I have to now. Sorry.
Still a pleasure to see you here at the Berlin Film Festival.
Oh, thank you. It's great to be here.
Blake told me a fun story about you yesterday being at the screening and looking at it with all the enthusiasm of just a viewer. So it must, feel great to see a film and enjoy it for not only your part, but the whole thing.
It's really great. Yeah, I really enjoyed the film. And she's fantastic in it. I mean, she's such a young person and gives such a mature performance in a way. I think the film is funny and touching, and it turned out to be everything that I hoped it could possibly be. Reading the script and working with Rebecca and working with Robin Wright Penn, who's finally she has a role that she can really show all of her skills. Just in terms of she's a great comedian, and she's touching her soul, and she gets to play. She's great in it.
Yeah, it's true, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Rebecca paid you the best compliment. She said that she watched a lot of your films, and that with you, she never knows how you're gonna. She can never expect how you're gonna portray the role. So that's, I guess, the best compliment for you being a proper actor.
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, I just wanted to make her happy.
That was it?
Yeah, I did. I wanted to make her happy. Chris is he's a complicated role, and he has interesting responsibilities in the story. He's a friend, he's a confidant, he's intimate, but he's guileless, but he's also very closed off. He's supposed to be, off-putting, but at the same time be interesting or kind of not seductive, but what is it?
Endearing.
Someone that I'm sorry, what?
Endearing?
Endearing, yeah, that's right, yeah. So it was. I was like, you know, which one am I doing? And and Rebecca was great with kind of steering the course a bit, you know.
Yeah, it's true.
And Robin was just like, so what else you got? Come on, what are you doing? Come on, you know. So it's fun.
Well, it comes back to the first joy of being an actor, having roles that are so challenging
Yeah.
within a script that you just turn in terms of pages all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a supporting role. I kind of come in and come out, but that was, you know, I kind of like that as well. Yeah.
Well, it's a question I always like to ask to big stars like you. When you have a supporting role, but it's as important to the ensemble because it's like a painting, everything has to stand out.
Sure.
Is it also more difficult because you have less time to shine?
Well, hopefully not. I get a great entrance in this film. You know what I mean? You hear me kind of yelling, and then the door opens, and he's kind of like full of, you know, emotion, and he's got a big Christ tattooed on his chest. So that was fun. But in the sense of like, you know, the scale of the role, you know, it's. I can just say it was a pleasure. You know, it's really a pleasure. You know, to try and to be a part of that painting, and to be, like I said, I just wanted to make her happy. You know. To be the whatever her brushstroke was, which was there, that she wanted.
Well, she's a special woman.
Yeah, isn't she?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You're just fascinated talking to her.
I had such an actor crush. So it was nice to go to work when you have an actor crush, you know,
Yeah, it does.
on your director.
It does heighten your enthusiasm.
Yeah, it helps with. Yeah, it does. It does.
Is there the opposite? Movies where, you know...
You don't have the actor crush.
And you don't really
Director
want
crush?
to wake up in the morning and go?
You know, I've luckily not had that experience, except for once. But so I only had it once. But so no.
No, indeed. It's the kind of film that tackles a lot of themes that are very endearing to their audience. I mean, personally, I felt very strongly about those family relationships and how
Right.
complicated they can be, and how little you know about your own family sometimes.
Yes,
Is
yeah.
that something that interests you in terms of theme?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, you know, what is that? I mean, I guess that's the child perspective of the adults, right? And then as you become an adult, you kind of end up investigating your child. And then as you kind of deal with your child that's kind of made the adult that you are, this film kind of talks about how you, when they come together, when they meet each other, and hopefully they meet as friends, you know, and that they can support each other, that you kind of have another part of your life begin. And I think that's what this film talks about.
Yeah, and the necessary changes that, you know, your unconscious suggests to you
Right,
without you
right.
being aware of it. I thought that was a very
Right.
interesting psychological theme, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and yeah, being able to hear them, or how they manifest without your control. You know, I mean, I guess there's that whole idea of, you know, that your sense of I and your sense of self has such a prejudice and has such a robust ego about, you know, that's who I am and this is what's going on, and you know, and then it's just, come on, who are you kidding? You know, it's kind of funny.
Well, there are movies like The Matrix where you fight for your performance because there's so much special effects around, and it makes for a great film, but and this is the opposite. You kind of have so much acting to do that you just wonder where the special effect is going to be. Isn't it too much responsibility to have so much acting to do?
I don't know. You know, I had a supporting role. You'd have to ask Robin about that. You know, I think, you know, this film offered up, I think, to all of the actors involved, just great dialogue and great situations and great scenes and great situations. And with that, I don't think an actor can ever get enough of that, you know. It's just like, look at all of this that I get to do, you know. So that's a burden that is welcome.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
It's like
Don't give me another great scene.
let me just watch the others.
Yes, let me just sit back and enjoy.
Well, Blake said something also very fun about you, is that, you know, she's met you and she thought you were such a nice, down-to-earth guy, and then all of a sudden you turn up on a red carpet and you're the huge megastars who everybody screams for. Is it a bit schizophrenic for you as well? You know, you lead a very normal life and then all of a sudden you get all these people screaming your name. Because you're kind of shy as a celebrity. You're not one to be out there.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Look at me type.
Yeah. But, you know, I'm really grateful and happy when I get the chance to, you know, to be a part of a time when, you know, the work that I'm participating in gets out to the world. Yeah, I mean, it is odd sometimes, you know, when you leave your house and someone recognizes you and you become objectified in a sense. But, you know, hopefully they say nice things. You know, you get to say hi.
Yes.
And last night was pretty cool.
They were screaming their lungs out last night.
Yeah. It was fun. You know, so I appreciate that and try to enjoy it. You know.
A final question about.
But it is weird.
It's completely weird when you know, so sometimes someone knows your name or people want to know details of your private life and things like that. Is there a conscious way to try to control it, or you just at some point, I don't know, learn to live with it?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it's not so bad in that sense. You know, as long as they're not crawling over your walls and following you and doing weird stuff. But, yeah. Hopefully, people enjoyed the work that you do. You know.
Well, I've enjoyed this very much. I thought